Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Barbara Stevenson. I'm the Deputy Ambassador here at the American Embassy, and I wanted to come down and welcome you all. And I hope you're going to have an enjoyable and informative event. Let me thank all of our speakers and panelists. We really appreciate you coming and pitching in on this. And in particular, I want to single out Jack Bobo, the State Department's Senior Advisor on Biotechnology, who's traveled from Washington, and he'll be setting the scene for us very shortly.
Some people are surprised that the Department of State has a person who deals with biotechnology, and the reason I think is simple. It's not just a food security issue, but it's also an energy security issue, it's a economic security issue, and it's a national security issue. And so the work that you do in food and agriculture has importance on many, many levels. And the single thing I hope that we leave here today is understanding that perhaps agriculture and food is even more important than the average person believes.
Consumers don't really know a huge amount about how food is produced in the first place, and actually we rather try and sell them, or some of us selling them some sort of rural idyll which was long past. And the truth is that if we want to protect plants from these losses, if we want to reduce waste, if we want to do the things that Jack described about reducing the amount of land, we have to have efficient ways of controlling pests and disease. It isn't going to be pesticides or genetics, GM if you want to put it that way. It's got to be both. We need all the tools in the toolbox.
There are risks associated with producing food in any way, and the risks that exist for biotechnology are the same types of risks that exist for other food products. And so they should worry about the food supply, and they should encourage investment in the regulatory systems to ensure that they're strong and safe for food generally.
Consumers are right to be interested in the food systems and the way in which the food is produced, and I think there should be more intelligence provided about that. But on the specifics of GM technology, there's never been a technology associated with food ever which has been subject to more scrutiny and more regulation than this. So I'm not sure where else you could go to assure safety. I am concerned about, let's say, the progress, the beneficial progress of science impacting on things which are beneficial to people being held up and in some senses potentially being put on the shelf because of this issue about patent. You know, I would much rather see all of this personally in a, let's call it a public access, public source environment.
And I understand that there are potential concerns that patents might limit research, but I think that it's the regulatory challenges that are the key obstacle to entering this market. And in the United States, there is currently a case before the U.S. Supreme Court brought by a farmer challenging whether or not they should be able to save the seed after it's been sold one time, and so whether or not that patent should expire. And the Supreme Court is considering this question. And so I think that question is sort of before the court. And what's interesting is to look at who do the farmers support in this case. And the American Soybean Association and the Corn Growers Association, the canola growers, all have stood behind the companies in this case. They want them to have the patent protection because they know that if it goes away, they will not invest in those crops, at least not in soybeans and crops that can be saved. And so it is a potential risk, but you know, the farmers themselves believe that it's critical to the survival of the technology to have that kind of protection.
In this half, we're really trying to drill down into what does it mean for the food service industry. And we've chosen 5 panelists, and I think they represent the industry extremely effectively because we're trying to represent the whole food supply chain here.
The consumers don't really know what they think about it because they don't feel that they have enough information.
The thing that struck me about it is actually how few consumers are actively engaged in GM, although we get large headlines in newspapers quite a lot. And a significant portion of people, when you ask them straight out, will say, I've never actually heard of GM. And if they have heard of it, then they don't actually know very much about what it is, what it means, what it stands for.
And we asked them about the means of communication by which they wanted this information. And we had about 80% who said TV documentaries. But we had over 2/3 that said popular food programmes, celebrity chefs, things like that. They're the people they seem to believe, they watch and they believe in. And if they get information through mediums like that, they're going to believe it.
And when people look at food labels, obviously they're interested in things like price, they're interested in things like nutrition, they're interested in things like sell-by dates. Very few people say, and I'm interested to know whether the food comes from a GM source or not.
Local, fresh, sustainable, the powerful messages that the customer picks up on. And I think leading with those is the key for us as operators, because then GM to me sits behind that, because GM could be a solution to some of those things.
About 12 years ago, the poultry industry decided, eggs and poultry meat, decided that it would be a wonderful idea to market ourselves as GM free in our feed, and that's really coming back to haunt us now, because the availability of GM feed to us is becoming increasingly difficult. I mean, if you've got Brazil is the sort of main place that we buy our soybean from. A little bit some from America as well, but it comes in for crushing. But soybean meal comes from Brazil and a bit from Argentina, and both of those are virtually, well, Brazil's now going to be 89% GM, which means there'll be 9 million tons of GM-free soya available. The big problem with that is that the same lorries move the GM and the non-GM soya, the same everything, and so we're finding it very, very difficult to genuinely say that we're now buying GM-free soya.
Something has got to give. Is it going to be the decisions of retailers to say, right, we go with GM and we abandon our sort of policies as some have done, or do we say we want to stick to that and we accept that there's going to be quite a significant price increase and we will pick that up? I think those are the sort of the hard issues that the industry is sort of facing.
The environmental assessment is part of reviewing biotechnology products, and so we do know that they're not going to have an environmental impact that's negative when they're introduced. On the other hand, we also know that there are huge positive impacts on the environment from the introduction of biotech crops. One of them is through the reduction in the use of insecticides. Another is through making more land available for forests and other things, because we're able to produce food in a more efficient manner.
There was a lot of talk about trust and who people trust, who consumers trust. And in the surveys it came out, and in the panel discussion it came out that it's celebrity chefs, that it is television documentaries, that it is the retailers. I don't personally believe that the food service should or will have that massive impact. We can communicate the message to the people that we work with, but I think for the maximum impact it will have to be the retailers and the public media.
At the moment we saw during the forum that finding GM-free feed for poultry is particularly difficult, and that could be a problem in terms of selling and marketing products for the retailers that they think are genetically modified, free of genetically modified foods, but in fact aren't. I think what we could also look to is celebrity chefs, the retailers, what do they think of genetically modified foods, but also the caterers. Is this a chance for the caterers to go on the front foot and say, these are our policies, this is what we're doing and why?